Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. My name's John Campea, and this is an open platform show. You know, every morning on the John Campea Show, we take a few minutes, a little bit more than a few minutes, and we take some live questions. But here on Open Mic in the afternoon, that's all we do, nothing but live open questions. We've already got a whole bunch of questions lined up on the board there, so let's get things rolling right now. And the first question today comes to us from Adam Douglas, who writes, over or under 55% that Ralph Breaks the Internet will top the 14-year-old record of $70.5 million opening weekend for a November animated film held by The Incredibles. Good question. Well, you know, before this morning, because this morning, what I consider to be the first true full trailer of Wreck-It Ralph. There was another trailer before, but it didn't tell us anything about the film. This was the trailer this morning that actually gave us some insight into the movie. Before that trailer dropped, I probably would have said under 55%. And 55% is a good line. That's a good line to set. I probably would have taken the under on 55. Now, having seen that trailer and seeing how much heart's in it, it's not the best trailer of the year, but it's a damn good trailer. I'll go over 55%. Like, I don't think by any stretch of the imagination it's a lock that it breaks that record, but I would take over 55% that it does break it. So, yeah, I'm going to take the over on that. Snake Jerusalem writes, people are piling on Brie Larson over 2 lines of dialogue in her trailer, yet they are fine with Gal Gadot's poor acting skills at display in the DCEU. Well, I mean, I don't think there's no point in comparing one to the other. I mean, you guys all know what I think of Gal Gadot's acting skills. Anyway, Brie Larson, an Academy Award-winning actress. Again, it's just, we are such an immediate, instant gratification society now. Everything's 10, 10, 10, 10, or 0, 0, 0, 0. If you see a movie, if you see any comic book movie, the first thing everybody asks, is it better than The Dark Knight? You know, or is it better than Avengers? That's just the way people are these days. So a trailer comes out, and like the first trailer to a character we've never seen before, to a movie that's still half a year away, and everybody's just searching for things to nitpick about it. I thought the trailer was solid. Now, I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was a spectacular trailer, but I thought it was everything a first trailer needed to be. And the lines in the film, or in the trailer at any rate, you know my opinion on that. I believe the moment you see those lines spoken in context in their scene, we're all going to go, oh yeah, that was the perfect way to say those lines in this scene, in that context. But we don't have that right now. Maybe those lines were the wrong ones to put into a trailer out of context. But no, it is kind of funny. Here we have an actress, multiple Academy-nominated actress, an Academy Award-winning actress, one of the best in the business today, and over 2 lines of dialogue taken completely out of their context, so we don't even know what the context is, and some people are trying to build constructs around about what they think the movie's going to be. Whatever. It reminds me a lot of like when people complain about like the Aquaman trailer. Like they go, there's too much CGI. It's in an underwater kingdom. What did you expect? Of course there's too much CGI in the Aquaman trailer. It's an underwater adventure. It's an underwater sci-fi adventure. What the hell were you expecting? Of course there's going to be CGI. Of course there's going to be lots of CGI. By nature needs to be CGI. Anyway, it just seems like no matter how good a trailer is, unless it's the best trailer of all time, they'll find reasons to complain about it. But it is what it is. It is kind of what we as film fans do. And hey, you're guilty of it, and this guy's guilty of it too. Let's admit it. We all do it. We all do it to one degree or another. That doesn't mean it's not frustrating. It is frustrating. There's things I do all the time that just frustrate myself. There's things that you do, I'm sure, that frustrates yourself. But the things that we as film fans do is because of this instant gratification, perfect gratification, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 generation that we live in. You know, if something is not the best thing ever, then it sucks. It's kind of the attitude we kind of take. It doesn't matter whether it's an Aquaman trailer or a Captain Marvel trailer or whatever. All I know is I thought the trailer was damn solid. I thought it was a damn solid trailer. Now, I've also said before, The second trailer has to be better. The second trailer has to be better. It has to give us more. It has a little bit more importance to it. You know, it's like if you guys saw the John Campea show this morning, we talked about the Wreck-It Ralph second trailer that came out and If Beale Street Could Talk second trailer. Both of those second trailers were way superior to the first trailers that came out. The first trailers just gave us a little taste. Here's just a taste of what this movie is. But then Wreck-It Ralph puts out its second trailer today, and If Beale Street Could Talk put out its second trailer today, and both of them vastly superior. The second Captain Marvel trailer has to be better. There's a higher standard for its second trailer. I thought for a first trailer of a movie that has a character we've never seen on screen before, that is over, half a year away, it was very, very solid for a first trailer. Second one needs to be better. And I'll say this, if the second Captain America trailer isn't better than this one, I will complain about it like the rest of you guys. But for a first trailer, I thought it was solid. I thought it hit its mark for its first trailer. Let's see. Mike Hill writes, John, you really need to see Blood and Bone with Michael Jai White. I need to just because I'm a big Michael Jai White fan. Such a good movie, street fighting / gangster film. Yeah, I really do. And you're not the only person to recommend it to me. A number of people have said I need to see that damn thing. And so somebody wrote on Twitter to me, you need to see Blood and Bone with Michael Jai White, right? First person who liked that tweet was Michael Jai White. So I get the message. I need to get around to watching that movie. I do. I will get to it. Stephen G 454 writes, in my opinion, I got a Watchmen vibe from the Captain Marvel trailer. That's interesting. I didn't get that vibe myself. I didn't get that one myself. But it's funny. Somebody else mentioned earlier today that they kind of got like an X-Files vibe from the Captain Marvel trailer, which I thought was interesting. I thought that was an interesting thing because I didn't really get it myself, but I could see where they're coming from. I didn't personally get that Watchmen vibe, but you've just given me a reason to watch it again. I'll see it again and see what I think, see if it hits me differently the second time around. All right. TNS93 writes, have you seen the final season of The Originals? I felt it was a satisfying end where Klaus becomes Elijah. I think he means becomes Elijah. I did see the final season of The Originals. The Originals, for those of you who don't know, is actually a vastly superior show to the show that it spun off from, which was Vampire Diaries. I wasn't a big fan of Vampire Diaries, but I was, surprisingly enough, a pretty big fan of The Originals because this guy had this one character, Elijah, in it, who, along with Lucifer Morningstar from the TV show Lucifer, is absolutely one of my, because the show is over now, was one of my favorite shows on TV, or favorite characters on TV, I should say. I loved Elijah Michelson. Was a great character. And I liked many of the other characters too, but to me, the Elijah Michelson character was just the best character. Loved him. Thought he was great. And I got caught up, watched the final season, just had its final season. And I wasn't thrilled with how they chose to end it, and I won't give away any spoilers. I wasn't thrilled with how they chose to end it. But overall, the overall story for the final season was a satisfying story. So I'll say that. Not a big fan of how they ended the show, but as far as how the story of the final season was, it was a satisfying way to end the show in that regard. All right. Kevin Brown writes, theory, the trigger that gives Captain Marvel her powers will be the same trigger that sparks humans around the world to gain mutant powers. Enter X-Men. I don't think so. The Captain Marvel thing and script were things that were on the docket and in script form long before the Fox and Disney merger stuff started coming up. So I really don't think... I mean, hey, you could be right. I'm not shutting you down. I'm not saying you're dead wrong. I'm just saying I have doubts about that because this was a planned movie long before the merger talks. This was a script that was done long before the merger talks. I don't think it'll have anything to do with it. If anything, I think it has more to do with the Inhumans stuff. But even then, I think Captain Marvel is going to be uniquely handled. I don't think they're going to do it like the way they do in the comic books. I think they're going to have their own kind of trigger for it in the movies. But I think it's going to be more on its own. Even if it wasn't, it would probably more closely associated with the Inhuman stuff than anything else. So that's just the way I kind of see it. But you could be right. We'll just have to wait and see. Trevor Johnson writes, Hollywood Reporter, will Feige oversee X-Men if the deal works? Iger, that makes sense. Film sites, Feige officially running the X-Men universe. Well, yes, but to be fair, Trevor, to be fair to the film sites and all that kind of stuff, that kind of is the implied thing that Bob Iger was saying. And really, to nobody's surprise. To nobody's surprise. We're all fully expecting. Now, let me back up a little bit. Those of you guys who've watched me for any period of time, you know that the way I would like them to handle this whole X-Men thing is to keep the X-Men in their own universe. I find the MCU to already be overcrowded. Adding another 40 or 50 X-Men characters isn't going to help. I believe the story of the X-Men as it relates to humanity is a unique story that would be served better if it was in its own standalone universe. And I think it just gives you more creative freedom to tell different and interesting stories if you have it in a separate universe. That's what I would like to see them do. But I'm not naive enough to believe that's what they're going to do. They will most likely bring the X-Men right into the MCU. And since Kevin Feige is the high father of all things MCU, it only stands to reason that he will be overseeing them, right? So, granted, look, film sites, film YouTube channels, film journalists will often take little slivers of comments, take them out of context, and run headlines about it, yes. But to be fair, I think maybe, Trevor, in this situation, it is kind of the implied meaning of the statement. In a situation that we've all been expecting out to turn out that way anyway, right? So there's sometimes I jump up and down about myself and my industry that we are too trigger happy to run with certain headlines that can't be backed up. But I think there's more than enough reasonable assumption of truth here for, a site to run with that headline, given all we know about these current circumstances. It's not 100% luck, but I think it's reasonable to make that assumption, to go from what was said by Bob Iger to Feige is officially running the X-Men universe. I don't think that's that much of a stretch. But, as in all things, Trevor, we'll have to wait and see if it actually turns out that way. Chris Warden writes, with Tony Ferguson fighting on the Conor versus Khabib undercard, and the news that Stipe Miocic is fighting on the DC, that's Daniel Cormier, versus Brock Lesnar card, I'm glad the UFC is finally having backups in place for their big pay-per-view main events. Well, to be honest, in many of the UFC's big cards, they will have a stacked card where you could have several different matches that could jump up. Now, for those of you who don't follow the UFC or MMA very much, there is an epidemic. Because of the nature of mixed martial arts, people get hurt, even just in training. People get hurt all the time. And it's happened so many times where a big main event fight was happening, and 3 weeks before the main event fight, dude breaks his hand in training. Can't fight in the fight. And main events get canceled all the time. But it does seem like with these, it seems like very important for these big highlight cards, like Daniel Cormier versus Brock Lesnar, like Conor McGregor versus Khabib. It's even more important that you have something big to take the place of those fights should something happen to one of those fighters. So otherwise, I'm just looking forward to watching Khabib smash the hell out of Conor McGregor. Let's see. Stubble McShave writes, could a spoof movie of a big franchise like Star Wars or MCU work today like Spaceballs did, or are the fans of today's too passionate? No, I look, the fans of today's properties like Star Wars, like the MCU, when something's done in fun, like if you did a movie that just came out and said, MCU sucks, well, yeah, that's going to upset some people. But if you have a movie that's coming out that is clearly just in loving fun, poking fun out of it and being a spoof on it, no, I think the MCU fans would take that great. I think DCEU fans would take that great. I think Star Wars fans would take it great, like they took it great with Spaceballs. Like, nobody looks at Spaceballs and thinks they're insulting Star Wars. No, it's a spoof. It's an homage. It's having fun with it. Nobody watched Spaceballs and went, how dare they insult my Star Wars? Like, nobody thought that. And while fandom today is a little crazy and a little irrational, yes, but I still think if you had a spoof movie done in the, with properties like the DCEU or the MCU or Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or Mission Impossible or whatever, I think the fandom today would know how to take it. I think it would be okay. No, I think that would be fine, Stubble. Trevor Johnson follows up. Always funny seeing them jump the gun. I always use your advice. Look for the source. Now, it helps a lot to not fall for the BS. And yes, that's the thing. That is the thing that I'm always trying to tell film fans is don't look at the headlines. The first thing you should do, let's say your favorite movie news site is Film Today Geek Boy. Okay, I'm just making one up. But let's say filmtodaygeekboy.com is your favorite news site. Okay, great. Film Today Geek Boy has some great insight. They're pretty funny. You enjoy reading their stuff. Now, let's say filmtodaygeekboy.com runs a story that says Henry Cavill now replacing Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Henry Cavill out as Superman, replacing Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Okay. But now what I would say, what I always tell film fans to do is, now go over the story and look for where they say they're getting that from. Because quite often it's, hey, an official press release. Oh, okay, if it's an official press release, then it's true. If it's from the Hollywood Reporter or from Variety or from Deadline or from, one of those types of trades, you can probably take it to the bank. But sometimes what happens is you see these sites that'll run that story, right? And then they'll say the source to this is coming from an anonymous commenter on a Reddit thread. It's like, well, then no, it's not a story. Then no. So as readers, look to see where the source is coming from. Because what happens too is, let's say 10 other sites see that anonymous commenter on a Reddit thread. And believe me, lots of big headlines, lots of big BS headlines have come from anonymous writers on Reddit threads. Believe me, it happens all the time. And 10 other sites run with the same thing. So then somebody says, well, it must be true because moviegeekboy.com said it, and filmsfilmsfilms.com said it, and ilovemovies.net.eu said it, and blah, blah, and they list 10 other sites that say it. Yes, but when you look at each of those sites and you look through where they're getting their information, they all get their information from the same one place. An anonymous commenter on Reddit said. So, yeah, that's exactly why, and I'm glad you brought that up, Trevor. That's exactly why I'm constantly encouraging film fans. Hey, cool, see the headline, great. Now read the story and just see where they're getting that information from. Are they getting it from a rock-solid source like a press release? Are they getting it from a pretty rock-solid source like the major trades, the Hollywood Reporter, Entertainment Weekly, Variety, Deadline, something like that? In that case, yeah, you can probably pretty much take it to the bank. Is it coming from a big website like, hey, comingsoon.net found out this? Okay, comingsoon.net isn't the Hollywood Reporter, but it's pretty reputable. Or is it coming from a blog, a French blog called exo.porn.com said this? I mean, well, then that's not as reliable. Always check to see what the source is. Where is your site of choice getting that information from? Then you know whether or not you can take a story seriously or not. R Squared Network writes, okay, just going to come right out and say it. The Matrix Reloaded is as good as The Matrix. Then he follows it up with philosophical. It's the perfect counter argument to the first film, and the action still holds up. Worst part about Reloaded was Revolutions. Well, I don't agree that Reloaded was as good as the first Matrix, but I'm with you that I am one of the few Matrix Reloaded defenders. I like Matrix Reloaded. And I really like R Squared the way you said that. It is a philosophical counter argument to the first film. I like the way you put that. That's a perfect way to say it, actually. It really is. I like the philosophy in that film. And I completely agree. I believe the action of the second one completely holds up to the action of the first one. In some ways, I believe you can make an argument the action of the second one outdoes the action of the first one. I really think that. I think that's honestly the case. I love the twins. I love, there's a lot of, I love Seraph. There's a lot of characters in there. So while I won't agree with you 100% that Reloaded is just as good as the first one, I believe narrative-wise and everything, there's some things the first one does better than the second one. I will stand with you shoulder to shoulder and defend Matrix Reloaded. There is no defending Revolutions. I mean, all film is subjective. I'm sure there's some Revolution fans out there, which is fine, which is great. I'm not one of them, which is totally cool. But yeah, I like Matrix Reloaded. Yeah, I do. You and I are rare creatures, though, that we like that one. Let's see. Stubble McShave writes, just saw Requiem for a Heavyweight with Anthony Quinn and Jackie Gleason. What a sports drama. It features a young Cassius Clay. Have you seen it? You know what? No, I have not seen that one. If it's the one I'm thinking of, I remember watching something about it and hearing people talking about it. Again, if it's the one I'm thinking of, which it might not be, but if it is, that is one I should probably check out. I've heard about that one. That sounds like one I need to see. Thanks for putting that on my radar, Stubble. Jackie Gleason's been talked about a lot lately for all the wrong reasons. But, I mean, great, but sad and unfortunate reasons. But I'm glad you put that one on the radar. All right, let's get to this one. Orange Hand writes, thoughts on Davos in Infinity War? Oh, Iron Fist. I really like him and find him sympathetic. P.S. Cumberbatch helped the actor get the role after working with him on Sherlock. I like the Davos character. I do. My one problem was that they went a little too far with Davos. I found that, a character whose prime... Now, look, I always say the scariest characters are the ones who think they're the good guys. They're the ones who see themselves as the hero. And that's certainly the case with Davos. But Davos came from a place of a real strict code of honor, and they went too far with just how dishonorable he acted. He acted very dishonorably. So overall, I like the Davos character very much. I thought they went a little bit too far with him. But other than that, no, I think he was a solid character. I thought he was a good antagonist for Iron Fist Season 2. Okay. Angry Irish Benjamin writes, Captain Marvel trailer kicks ass, but I saw some people complain about Brie Larson not being very emotive. I doubt Marvel was trying to sell us on her acting so much as the personality and atmosphere of the movie itself. That will translate globally better than one player's acting chops. I'm sure they'll show those too, but they need to get people invested first. And again, I think what you're saying, Angry, goes exactly along with what I was saying earlier. This was a first trailer to a movie with a character that nobody has seen yet in a film that does not open for over half a year. There are certain things the first trailer needs to do. The first trailer is just laying the groundwork. That's all it is. Much like the If Beale Street Could Talk first trailer, much like the Wreck-It Ralph first trailer. It's just kind of laying the groundwork. Saying, hey everybody, there's this movie coming. And it's really when you get to the second trailer, again, like we saw in Wreck-It Ralph and If Beale Street Could Talk trailers this morning, it's once you get to that second trailer that it really starts, that's where you start to get a little bit of a taste of the meat of the movie. And I completely agree. Marvel knows they don't have to sell us on Brie Larson's acting. She's one of the best actresses in the business in the world today. She's pretty much better than any other lead. No, I'll say this. She is better than any other lead actress in any comic book film. I love Evangeline Lilly. I'll go see anything with Evangeline Lilly. Brie Larson's a better actress than Evangeline Lilly. I love Scarlett Johansson. I really do. I think she's just the bee's knees, as probably my grandfather would say. I think she's awesome. I think Brie Larson's a better actress than Scarlett Johansson. I really do think she's on that level. Marvel made some decisions about what they wanted to show us in this first one because they had some things they wanted to do that weren't necessarily the things that we're looking for in the first trailer. So we'll have to just take a breath and see how they go. But I completely agree with your sentiment there, Angry Irish. And once we get to that second trailer, And like I've already said, if we get to the second trailer and it's not an improvement, even I will start going, hey, what's going on? If we don't see a step up in the second trailer, there's going to be questions. There will be questions. But I think for a first trailer, I think it was perfectly solid. It did what it set out to do. Now we just got to see what they're going to be doing with further marketing as we move forward and as we move along. So I really like the way you said that. I doubt Marvel was trying to sell Sony acting as much as the personality and atmosphere of the movie itself. That's all. It's like that first Wreck-It Ralph trailer. All they were doing is like, woo, they're in the internet, and a couple of quick little gags. It didn't give us any idea about what the movie was about or what the story was. But that first Wreck-It Ralph trailer was just like, hey, look, we're going to be in the internet. Here's the humor again. There you go. It wasn't until that new trailer dropped this morning that, we're getting now the motivations. We're getting what the character, what is driving the characters in this one. We're getting a sense of what the story is and why they're going to the internet. It was the second trailer that started to unpack all that for us. And I believe the second Captain Marvel trailer will do that as well. So we'll all just take a breath. And by the way, it'll come pretty soon. I think within 2 months. I believe before the end of the year, we're going to get another Captain Marvel trailer. I really believe that. I believe before the end of December, probably around the time when Aquaman is coming out, when there's a bunch of buzz for superhero genre, because Aquaman, I think that'll be the time they'll drop another Captain Marvel trailer. Whether I'm right or wrong, we'll find out here pretty soon. All right. James Hoffman writes, saw that CBS is rebooting the Twilight Zone on All Access with Jordan Peele narrating. Really looking forward to it. Thoughts? I had not heard that. That's interesting. That they're going to, like, I like the idea of an anthology show, of an anthology border like sci-fi horror-y kind of thing. I'll tell you what, as a kid, the scariest thing I ever saw on TV as a kid was an old rerun of Twilight Zone. It was a black and white rerun of Twilight Zone. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen this episode, but nothing scared me more as a kid than this thing. It was the episode of Twilight Zone where the little girl has an alcoholic dad and the doll starts to speak. Can you see the goosebumps on my arm? Just thinking about this. I'm still getting freaked out thinking about the damn thing. Look at this. The hair standing up all across my arm now. I'm just thinking about it. It was like, I can't remember the name of the doll. For argument's sake, let's say it's Susie. Right? And the dad's just mean. Like I don't think he ever hits the little girl. He never hits the girl in the show. I think that would have been too much for the time. But he's mean and you know, every once in a while she's like pulling the string on her doll. My name's Susie. This for argument. It might have been a different name, but let's just say the doll's name was Susie. My name's Susie. My name's Susie. And then at some point in the show, in the episode, the guy's been mean to his daughter and he sends the daughter to her room, but she accidentally leaves the doll behind. And he goes and looks at the doll, pulls the string. My name's Susie, and I don't think you're nice. And I'm saying, I remember I'm a kid. I'm like, what the hell? Right? And then he's like, oh, whatever, throws the doll away. And then, like a little bit later, like he's mean to the daughter again. The daughter leaves, and this time he doesn't even pull the string. The doll's just sitting there. My name's Susie, and you better stop. Can you see the hair on my arm? I'm freaking out just thinking about this damn thing. I am literally sitting here freaking out thinking about this episode. And eventually, so then I think he tries to throw the doll away, right? He's like, whoa, what? He throws it away. And then later he comes in the house and he's mean to the daughter one more time and something like that. And he sends the daughter to her room and he sees then he turns around and sees the Susie doll sitting in the thing again. He walks up, he picks it up. He's like, how this thing get back in here? And this time he pulls the string and goes, my name's Susie, and I'm going to kill you. Forget it. Complete mental break in my head. I'm just sitting there as a kid going, ah! Like I'm just freaking out at this old black and white show. And then what eventually happens in the episode later is something else happens and he's running down the stairs and then the Susie doll is laying on the stairs and he trips on this Susie doll and he falls down, breaks his neck and he dies. But I swear, that line scarred me forever. I will always know, my name's Susie and I'm going to kill you. And I'm going to have nightmares about that tonight. Thank you so much for bringing that up. So yes, the idea that they're bringing back Twilight Zone and doing that sort of one-shot anthology storytelling, I think is pretty cool. Clearly that has something to do with Black Mirror. I think Black Mirror is kind of repopularizing that whole format and that idea. And of course, Twilight Zone is the godfather of that whole format and idea. So why not bring it back and give it another shot? Let's see. Okay. Next one up comes to us from James L.H., who writes, John, like the DC movies, but why operate the way they do? Example, the handling of Superman and Cavill, whereas Marvel, no fuss. In 1 week, new TV series, Captain Marvel trailer, then Daredevil trailer and release date. Well, let's not pretend like Marvel's never had any hiccups. Look, with the Superman thing, it's easy to look like everything's fine when you're winning. What is the thing I always say? Winning cures everything, right? Winning cures everything. When you're putting out hit film after hit film and you're getting rave audience reviews and rave critic reviews all the time, everything looks like everything's peachy and keen and perfect. You don't have to do big course corrections. You don't have to do a lot of reshuffling. But hey, remember, there was a big dust up a few years ago. Remember when Ron Howard, remember when Robert Downey Jr.'s first contract with Marvel was expiring? And there was some tough talk going back and forth between Marvel and Robert Downey Jr. And they're saying, yeah, Robert Downey Jr. is going to be done. He's done as Iron Man. And like there was a lot of speculation about whether or not he'd be back. And then the judge happened, and Robert Downey Jr. realized, oh, movies I'm in that aren't MCU can flop? Maybe it's time for me to go back to the MCU. Good decision. But let's not pretend like everything's all peachy and keen. DC's in a bit of a different circumstance. They came out of the gate, and they didn't have overwhelming success out of the gate. For some unimaginable reason, not everybody loved Man of Steel. Not everybody loved Batman versus Superman. So they had some stumbles coming out of the gate, which put them in a position of needing to reevaluate and course correct, something Marvel didn't really have to do. So DC found themselves in that place, and where winning cures everything, losing brings all discontent to the surface. When you start losing, because even in in teams that have some turmoil and problems, when you're winning, all the problems get pushed down. Nobody worries about the discontent and the turmoil. When you're winning and succeeding and having big success, everything looks and feels fine on the surface. But when you start failing and start stumbling and start facing diversity and start falling, then all the little things that are problems start to come up closer and closer to the surface. And you start to see those problems. They start to become bigger. They start to become publicly known and all that kind of stuff. Whereas in another situation, they may all be there too, but because you're winning and everybody's succeeding, nobody pays attention to it. Even the people involved don't pay attention to the problems because we're all winning and we're all succeeding. I'm thinking of something right now, but I am biting my tongue hard. Oh my God, you have no idea how hard I'm biting my tongue right now. You have no idea how much I'm biting my tongue right now, but I'm going to continue biting my tongue. But still. So, the stuff with Henry Cavill and Superman, course correcting on what they're going to do, Superman, blah, blah, blah. Look, it ain't easy. I understand. Marvel makes it look easy. But that's because they haven't been hit with real diversity yet. Look, as much faith as I have in Kevin Feige, at some point, Marvel's going to put out a film that everybody hates. They're going to put out a film that the fans don't like, that doesn't do great at the box office, and that the critics don't like. It's going to happen. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. Now, that one big failure that they're going to run right smack into the middle of, that one big failure is not going to derail the MCU. They've got too much positive momentum going. But when they hit that first real test of adversity, you're going to see some of the cracks in the armor. You're going to see some of the underlying bubbling issues that maybe just everybody, even in the MCU, that everybody just kind of overlooks and doesn't talk about right now. You want to know why the James Gunn thing got moved on past so quickly, it's because the MCU, everybody's winning. Even James Gunn is winning. James Gunn is going to get the biggest contract of his life with another studio. And the MCU is going to move on and blah, blah. So really, the James Gunn thing had some dust up. We talked about it for a couple of weeks, but then it's moved past. Because when you're winning, everything just is easier. But I'm telling you this right now. When Marvel hits that wall, even just for one film, and they inevitably hit that film, and it's coming. At some point, it's coming. It'll happen to everybody. That is a box office, critical, and fan failure. You're going to see some cracks in the armor. You're going to hear about discontent. You're going to hear about certain people grumbling about other people. You're going to hear blah, 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 blah. Maybe even the James Gunn thing gets brought up again. You're going to hear about problems that people have had and been holding on to, but everything's great, so there's no reason to complain. But now there's some things going bad. Now's the time to complain. You're going to see it happen. Even in the MCU, who make it look so easy. And they do. And they've done great. They've done awesome. I mean, it's incredible. So, it's difficult. It's difficult. I mean, you're running these studios, like, let's even look at it from Warner Brothers' point of view. You're running this high, important property with millions and billions of dollars at stake. You're making with a million different moving pieces. It's not like you and I were the biggest decision we have to make today is I'm going to have my sandwich on white or wheat. I mean, for most of us, that's the biggest decision we need to make today. These are guys who are making a million different decisions on a million different moving pieces with 1,000 people with egos and, sensitivities and blah, blah, blah. And you're trying to make it all work. And it's hard. It's hard. Marvel makes it look easy because they've been winning. But believe it, they're going to hit diversity at some point. And when they do, we'll see how they can really navigate it. Because when they do, the grumbling's going to come. The discontent's going to come. The problems that have been kept safely buried beneath under a wave and wave and wave of success are going to start bubbling to the surface. And then we will see how Marvel can deal with that. And it'll be, a lot of times in the NFL, like a team will be motorboating along and they'll be motoring along. A team will be motoring along, doing great. Like they'll be 7-0, undefeated so far, and everybody's great. But some wise sports commentators will go, yeah, but they've never faced a championship caliber team yet. Let's see what happens when they do and they get beat. Because everybody on that team smiles and everybody we love each other. Our coach is great. What happens when they run into a Philadelphia Eagles or when they run into a New England Patriots or they run into, the best team in football right now is the LA Rams. What happens when they run into one of those teams and take a beat down? Are they still all smiles and hugs the next week, or do you start to see some of the cracks in the armor? Look what's happening to the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. I'm not trying to get too much into sports, but Pittsburgh Steelers, one of these celebrated teams in the league. They're constantly a strong team in the league, right? They're losing. And when they start losing, you start hearing all this player drama. And if you don't follow ESPN or sports, you don't know what I'm talking about. But for those of you who do, you know what I'm talking about, right? As soon as they start losing, all these problems start coming up to the surface about, this player's unhappy, that player's unhappy, I want to be traded, blah, blah. Like, that's what happens. Let's see what happens to Marvel. Sorry, I went off on that for a long time, but it's a big topic. Murray Reich writes, what are your some quick thoughts on why you didn't like Halloween 1978? The only main issue I had with it was the bad dialogue with many characters except for Donald Pleasance, who was great. Yeah, there's a few upsides. It honestly comes down to this. There's nothing good about it. It's the absence. It's not the presence of a bunch of bad stuff. It's the absence of anything quality. Like, I watch it. I'm sorry, there's nothing to me when I watch it. No, look, let me acknowledge right away. This is a celebrated all-time classic horror film that people much smarter than me absolutely love and celebrate. Everybody loves this movie. Okay, so I just acknowledge that. I'm just saying, for me, when I watched it, I remember I watched it again. It was at my friend Serena Whitney's house in Toronto. It had been years since I'd seen the movie. And this is going back like 12, 13 years now. But Serena would have like movie watching parties at her house, so we'd go over and watch them. And she was doing Halloween one night. So you watch the original Halloween. Yeah, and I remember watching, it's like, there's nothing good about this. There's nothing is decent about this. It's all bland. Like, this happens, that's not scary. That's not a good line of dialogue. That character's not threatening. That's not exciting. I don't feel any tension here. Like, it's not so much what was wrong with it. It was the absence of anything decent about it. It was the absence of anything good or memorable. Now, again, that was just my experience with it. That doesn't mean it was your experience with it, nor am I trying to undermine your opinion of the film if you loved it. If you loved it, that's great. You're in much better company. Everybody loves it. I'm just saying, for me, it was the complete lack of anything exceptional. All right. Grand Master writes, where were you when Armstrong landed on the moon? I don't think I was born. I remember watching it live with my class. Great moments in human history. Can't wait for First Man. Hold a second. Let me just double check. When did they land on the moon? Yeah, 1969. I wasn't alive yet. So I was still a few years away from being born when that happened. But still, I cannot wait to watch this movie. I mean, it is funny because there's that old adage, they can put a man on the moon, but they can't do this. It's crazy. Like, I'm sitting here. Remember for a couple of weeks ago, I was having a bunch of internet problems for like a week, and like half of my shows weren't able to finish and all that kind of stuff. It's like, we can literally put human beings on the moon. We put human beings on the moon before I was even born, and I can't get a steady internet stream. I mean, that was kind of the thing, right? But yeah, Grandmaster, I wasn't quite born yet, so I can't remember that. But yeah, First Man looks amazing. I cannot wait. And the critic reviews coming out about it out of the film festivals are super high. Everybody's loving it. They're talking about a Best Picture nomination already. They're talking about Ryan Gosling getting a Best Actor nomination again. They're talking about Best Director possibly again for Damien Chazelle. They're talking about screenplay nominations for it. I haven't seen it yet. But out of all these critics who've seen it at these film festivals are raving about it. I cannot wait. Hey guys, guess what? I'm going to put us on pause for just a second. I don't know if you can tell here. I'm starting to sweat. The room's gotten kind of warm in here. I thought I could get away without the AC. I'm just going to go and pop my AC on. I'm going to take a 30-second break. I will be back in just 30 seconds. Hang in there with me. I'll be right back. All right, and we are back. Thank you for your patience, guys. You can probably hear the AC on in the background now. I had to get the air going because I was getting pretty warm. All right, let's move on now to Angry Irish Benjamin, who writes, Aquaman's trailer isn't perfect, but it can give them credit for anything. It's that Atlantis is gorgeous looking. The special effects people did an excellent job. Hope Jason Momoa has too. Now, I'll tell you what. Okay, no, it's not perfect, but I thought it was a perfect Aquaman trailer, you know? I just giggled my whole way through it, and I love that it would just, much like the Captain Marvel trailer, it didn't give us a lot of the movie. It didn't give us a lot of what this movie's really going to be about, other than, I need to go back and stop my brother, right? There's that. But I feel like the main objective of that first Aquaman trailer was introduce us to this new world that they're taking us to. Take us to this new world that Juan is bringing us to. And show it off. And on that level, I thought it worked really. It was beautiful and gorgeous. Did it do a bunch of other things well? Well, it did some other things well. But you're right. I mean, it wasn't the perfect trailer. But again, it was a first trailer for a movie that was still a little bit off away. It was a character we've already seen on screen before. We had just seen Aquaman in Justice League. So there was that. But overall, it was pretty damn solid. I loved it a lot. It's still in my top 2 or 3 favorite trailers of the year, personally. But again, a lot of that just because it introduced us to this world of Atlantis that we had never seen before, and I was overwhelmed by it. I thought it looked fantastic. But I know some other people don't. That's fine, but that's just how I felt about it. All right. Javier Riaz 405 writes, call me crazy, but Incredibles 2 was my least favorite superhero movie this year. I still thought it was a good film, though. Well, I mean, what else was there? Well, I mean, I certainly I liked Justice League. You all know that. I went to go see it many times. I liked Justice League a lot. But I liked Incredibles 2 more. I did. I also liked Incredibles 2 more than Ant-Man and the Wasp. I liked Ant-Man and the Wasp. I did. But I thought it was a step down from the first Ant-Man. So I would say, The Incredibles might be, it might even be my top. I might put it above Black Panther or, put it above Avengers Infinity War. I don't know. They're such different movies, even though they're both superhero themed movies. They're such radically different movies. It's hard to say, but I liked it a lot. But hey, look, for me, you saying that is kind of like me saying, The Dark Knight Rises is my least favorite Christopher Nolan Batman film. I mean, it's still good. I still liked it. I did. I enjoyed it. Thumbs up. But I didn't like it anywhere near as much as Batman Begins or obviously The Dark Knight, right? So I kind of believe me, I get what you're saying, man. Dakota Barber writes, haven't seen Room with Brie Larson. Oh my God, you got to see that. Yeah. Haven't seen Room with Brie Larson, but it's on Netflix, so I'm going to go watch it. How good of a film is it? I know she won an Oscar for it. Stoked to see it. It's really good. I mean, don't go watching it if you're expecting a sci-fi action film. Go and do it. But oh my God, you just want to see, not only her, the kid is amazing in it. The kid's fantastic. But yeah, it's a wonderful movie. I can't remember. Did Room get nominated? Hold on a second. Did Room get nominated for Best Picture? I cannot remember. Let me just double check this here. I cannot remember. I think it got nominated for Best Picture. Yeah, it got nominated for Best Motion Picture of the Year. And it was nominated for Best Screenplay and Best Director. And it obviously won the Academy Award for Best Lead Actress for Brie Larson. And let me just double check. So Brie Larson, I said she was a multi-nominated thing, and I was wrong. She was only nominated the once. There was like another year when everybody thought she should have been nominated, and she didn't. But she's got an Academy Award in there. She also won the Golden Globe for it. She also won the BAFTA Award for Room. She also won the Producers Award for it. She won the Alliance, the Film Journalists Award. She won the Austin Film Critics Award. She won the Broadcast Film Critics Award. She won the Canadian Screen Award. She won the Chicago Film Critics. She won a lot of kind of damn stuff for that movie. You're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna enjoy it. It's a really sharp film. I mean, all film is subjective. Maybe you won't enjoy it, but I got a feeling you're gonna like that movie. Let's see. James L.H. writes, Aquaman is out 14th here in the UK. Why not the same in the US? Well, I mean, almost every movie opens in different countries and different dates. It basically never happens that a movie opens in every country on the same day. That almost never happens. A lot of times we'll have like the US and 20 other countries will open on the same day, and then about 20 will open on another day, 20 will open on another day, and so on and so forth. But like Ant-Man and the Wasp opened on a radically different day than here in the US, right? So that's not an unusual thing, James. Happens all the time. Happens all the time. Factual Opinion writes, should I watch A Simple Favor or Crazy Rich Asians? Ooh, two good films. Okay, you've got a situation here where you can't lose. They're both really nice little films. Neither of these films are going to be in my top 5 of the year, but they're both really nice little films. If you're looking for something a little bit more engaged, go see A Simple Favor. If you want to go see something just a little more light and just sit back and relax, then go Crazy Rich Asians. I recommend them both. They're both solid. So it all depends. But if it was me, if I had to go see a movie tonight, I'm probably picking Simple Favor. I'm probably picking A Simple Favor. But believe me, on another night, I'm picking Crazy Rich Asians. They're both, you're going to win either way. You're in for a good night at the movies regardless. Dim-Sum05 writes, did you see Searching yet? Hashtag broken record. Nope. Still haven't. See, here's the thing, guys. I have been working ridiculously hard lately, not only on my channel, but working on getting this new thing put together and getting ready for this new thing. I have not been able to announce what this new thing is. Hopefully I will soon. Before I say anything about it really officially, I need to make sure every detail has been considered, every I is dotted, every T is crossed. Because you know how I complain sometimes that, how can a director and a studio part ways over creative differences? Why didn't you know about your creative differences before you signed on for the movie? You should have had that figured out before you signed on for the movie, right? I'm always saying that. I don't want to fall prey to that. I don't want to announce this thing that I'm going to be doing and then in a week have to come back and say, now I'm not doing it. We hit a snag in our discussions, we hit a snag in our negotiations, and now I'm not doing it. I don't want to do that. So I just got to make sure every I is dotted. So what's been happening is I've been getting up at 5 every morning, doing all my stuff, doing the morning show, the John Campea show, immediately getting in my car, driving out to Hollywood, spend a couple hours in Hollywood working on stuff, then get back in my car, rush back here as fast as I can to do open mic in the afternoons, and then I've got to start working on tomorrow's John Campea show after that's done, and then Ann gets home, we have dinner together, and then we either got to go to a screening or we finally have some time to spend together before we go to bed, and we go to bed like at 10 o'clock, right? Because we got to get up at 5. So it's been hard. I've been trying to go see Searching. I just haven't had the chance yet. And even tonight, I can't. I'm going to the movies tonight. What am I going to go see? A House with a Clock in Its Walls. I'm going to go see that tonight so I can review it tomorrow morning. So again, even though I have some time tonight that I could go see Searching, I got to go see this other movie because I got to review it tomorrow. So I still haven't seen it, and I really, really want to see it. Izzy Alonso writes, what's with Emmys bashing the right, Christians and Jesus? I hate getting political, but they made it so. Well, I mean, I didn't watch the Emmys this year. I just watched I just read about them afterwards. I read that they didn't go on. By the way, you know what? Sorry, I choose not to get political on this show. I have political thoughts. I often share them on my Facebook page, but I try not to bring any politics here. So I'm not going to address your. There's some things I want to say, but I'm not going to say them here. So that's just a choice of mine. So anyway, I just got to let that go. Javier Rios 405 writes, do you think that had there been 10 nominees for the 2007 Oscars instead of the usual 5, that Casino Royale would have been nominated? I thought it was one of the best films of 2006. Well, interesting. Let's look at... I love Casino Royale, by the way. It's my favorite Bond movie. Casino Royale is my favorite James Bond movie. Let's see here. I can't remember if it got any Academy... No, it didn't get any Academy Award nominations that year. So let me just look up here. 2006 Oscars. Nominees and winners. Let me just pull this up. Oh, 2007 I should look for, considering that the movie itself came out in 2006. Nominees and winners. Here we go. So Best Picture that year was still a year when it was just 4 or 5 nominees. It was Babel, The Departed. Really? The Departed? Is that how far back? Oh, wow. The Departed, Letters from Iwo Jima, Little Miss Sunshine, The Queen. Yeah, Yeah, I think had they had 9 to 10, a maximum of 10 nominees that year, I think you would have seen Casino Royale get nominated for Best Picture. I think it would have gotten that nomination. I mean, like, I thought The Departed was better than Casino Royale. Departed is crazy good. It's the film that finally won Martin Scorsese his first directing Academy Award. Little Miss Sunshine was great. The Queen was great. You know what? I might have slid Babel off that nominee list and put Casino Royale in there. I'd like to look down the list and see what other movies. That was also the year The Last King of Scotland came out, that won Forrest Whitaker's Academy Award. Blood Diamond was that year. Half Nelson was that year. The Devil Wears Prada was that year. Little Children was that year. Dreamgirls was that year. There's a lot of good films that year. But yeah, I'll say yes. Had there been 10 nominees that year, I do think Casino Royale would have been nominated. Timothy Plott writes, Right, White Boy Rick absolutely blew me away. If you haven't seen it, Yeah, that's one of those ones that I had to bypass, but I've been totally stoked for it. I think it looks great. I watched a documentary on the real life story of White Boy Rick, and I was totally fascinated with it. So yeah, I really want to go. I was thinking about going to go see it tonight, but I got to see House of the Clock as well. So that kind of upset that. But I do want to see it. Thanks for bringing that up, Timothy. I'm Upset writes, worst Eddie Murphy film. Mine's Norbit plus Pluto MASH. Ooh. I mean, those, how do you argue? I mean, I'm upset. How do I argue with either of those? Those are, what am I going to say? Nah, Norbit's better than people. No, I mean, those are, I would have to sit down and go through a list of Eddie Murphy films. Also, I'll just say it's hard to disagree with you on those, man. Because those are some awful, awful films. Murray Reich writes, did you see the trailer to the untold true story of Laurel and Hardy? Yeah, it's called Stan and Ollie. Or Stan and Ollie. It's called Stan and Ollie. It stars John C. Reilly and Steve Coogan. Yeah, I talked about it the other day. Really nice trailer. And, you know, John C. Reilly has really found a place for himself in comedy. People love him in comedy. He really found his stride, especially working with Will Ferrell and even outside of that. He's great in comedy. A lot of people forget he's a dramatic actor. And he's a very good dramatic actor. Go back and watch one of my favorite moment of that George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg film, Perfect Storm. Remember that one about the storm and the boat and the fisherman based on the true story? Anyway, John C. Reilly is one of the characters in that. And the most powerful moment of that movie to me, the boat's been capsized. There are a couple of guys trapped in the deck below the boat. So they're trapped in the boat as the boat's going down. So they're in this room. The water's getting higher and higher. And they're trapped in this room. They're going to die. They know it. And the water's getting higher and higher and higher. And John C. Reilly, I think it's William Fichtner that he's in the room with. It might have been another character. But the last line that his character says is he looks at his friend and they're about to die. And they know it. And the water's getting higher. He's like, this is going to be really hard on my kid. And then he died. Oh. John C. Reilly's so good in that. Anyway, so seeing him get to flex some of those dramatic muscles in something like Stan and Ollie is really good. I'm very excited to see this now. I really am. Timothy follows up. Keep bringing that filthy, John. Hashtag kiss kiss gangbang. Yep. I'm never going to live that one down. I'm never going to live that one down. That one's probably going to be with me for the rest of my career. Angry Irish Benjamin writes, as a former victim of long-term bullying, I've always hated Unfriended for using cyberbullying to prop up a weak slasher movie with a dumb gimmick. That said, I really like Searching. It's my pleasant surprise movie of the year. You know, it's funny. You bring up a larger issue with the fact that there are often movies that have the right idea, but they get lost in their execution of it. And I often think what they were kind of trying to go for, they tripped over and they didn't succeed in. I think Unfriended is a movie that's like that. I could see what they were going for. I could see what they were trying to do and say, but I think I agree with you that ultimately they kind of botched the execution and then it came across in a way that wasn't the way they intended it to come across, right? It reminds me a lot of, I can't remember the name of the movie, but this is going back about 10 years. There's this movie about firefighters, and I cannot remember the name of it now for the life of me, but at any rate. And, you know, the main impetus is about these firefighters and how firefighters are heroic and all this kind of stuff. And I watched the movie, and the movie wasn't good. And I remember talking about I didn't like the movie. I just didn't think the movie was very good. And somebody got so mad at me, saying, how dare you disrespect firefighters like that? Firefighters are heroes of our communities and of our cities and our country, and you should have more respect for our firefighters. I'm like, this has nothing to do with whether or not I respect firefighters. I was talking about a movie. Like, I get it. They were trying to honor firefighters, and what they were going for was great, but that doesn't mean it worked. And it doesn't mean they did it well. and the movie tripped over itself, and it didn't work. It's not good. That in no way is disrespecting firefighters, just because a bunch of filmmakers, who aren't firefighters, by the way, didn't do a good job making a movie about firefighters. That's not an insult to firefighters at all or in the least. You know, I've seen some film critics when there would be, and again, this is going back a few years, but there was this one movie that was focused on the military, and the movie wasn't all that great. And a critic would say, hey, well, you know, the movie's not good. This is a bad movie. And some people going, how dare you disrespect our military? I'm sorry, I didn't know we were talking about our military. I thought we were talking about a movie. And I'm just saying that the movie's not all that good. So I think sometimes that, you know, we can see a film and we see a studio, we see filmmakers, and they have this idea for something, they're going for something. And I think what a movie like Unfriended, and I can't believe I've never talked this long about Unfriended, but I think a movie like Unfriended, I think you could see what they were trying to do. It's just that they didn't get there. But again, searching is when everybody's telling me I got to see. I cannot wait to see it. I'm getting very anxious about it. So I got to find a few minutes to scrape up together that I can get out and finally go watch that damn thing. James L.H. writes, I've been following what's happening in the U.S. on the 21st. And as a fan of in the UK, we need a good box office in the U.S. for Aquaman and DC. Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, worldwide box office is important, but it's all predicated on what happens in the U.S. box office. U.S. box office is 1/100th of the markets in the world, but it makes up for about full 30%, sometimes up to 50% or more of what a film does at the box office. It's incredibly vital and important. So yeah, we really do need Aquaman to do well. Now, whether or not it deserves to do well, who knows? Maybe the movie sucks. Was James Wan directing it? I doubt it sucks, but we're going to have to wait and see. So we'll know soon enough, man. We're getting closer and closer. All right. Edgar Navarro writes, I want a gritty John Campea show. Fuck movie news. Look how dark and edgy I am. Fuck movie news. Fuck this guy. Fuck Marvel. Fuck DC. Fuck Tom Cruise. Fuck everybody. Yeah. There used to be a day back in my movie blog days when I was just doing the podcast. I just had my movie blog podcast, which is called the Movie Blog Audio Edition. I was a lot more vulgar in those days, and it was probably a lot more of that. But yeah, not so much anymore. But thanks for the press of encouragement, Edgar, trying to nudge me that way. Lawrence RBE writes, is it a regression in an acting career to go from big screen to small screen? In reference to Scarlet and Loki going stream, what say you? I think there was a time. I think there was a day and a time when that was the case, that going from movies to TV was seen as slumming it, was seen as taking a step backwards. Look, everybody in TV wanted to be a movie star. And very, very few TV stars were ever able to actually break through and become movie stars. But it always happened. Like, all these TV stars tried to become movie stars and would hardly ever work. And you very rarely saw them go the other way. But I don't know that that's so much the case today. Here's a great example. Academy Award-winning actress Emma Stone, she's got a new series coming with Jonah Hill called Maniac. Being directed, by the way, by Cary Fukunaga, who's going to be the new director of James Bond. We see a lot now of, I mean, look at, what was the name of that one with the 4 women, and there's a murder, and it had Nicole Kidman and Reese Witherspoon, and you know, and it just won a bunch of Emmys last year. Something Secret. I can't even remember what it was called. But anyway, that show, that television HBO show was loaded with big movie talent, right? I don't think that's the case anymore. I think there was a day when it was seen as a step backwards, but now I think it's just kind of seen as a lateral move. I don't think it's seen as slumming it anymore. There was a time, for a long time, that was the case, but I don't think that's the case anymore. Adam K. writes, in Infinity War, when Rocket and Groot are on Earth, isn't it a little weird how the Avengers just accept that there's a talking raccoon and tree without paws? Well, yes and no. Remember, 2 pieces of extenuating circumstances. One, they were in the middle of a fight with an army of space dogs. They just saw these giant spaceships. And remember, the Avengers have fought Chitauri before too. But they are just in the middle. They just had these giant spaceships descend from the sky and this huge pack of army of ravenous space dogs. So keep that in mind. Number 2, they showed up with Thor. Right? They didn't just show up out of the blue on their own. They showed up with Thor. And immediately went into combat with Thor taking on the space dogs. So I think those two pieces of extenuating circumstances, the fact that they're in the middle of a fight with space dogs, and the fact that these two weird creatures show up but with Thor, I think that mitigates it a little bit. And so you have, and I think I think they acknowledged the awkwardness of it a little bit with Captain America going, I am Steve Rogers. Like he's trying to even, Captain America was a little taken aback by it. Doing a little introduction with Groot. I am Groot. I am Steve Rogers. You could tell the way Evans played it. It was a little bit weird. But yeah, look, had the Avengers just been sitting in downtown New York having shawarma and watching TV, and all of a sudden Groot and Rocket Raccoon walk into the restaurant, that would probably get a different reaction. But they're in the middle of a fight with a bunch of space dogs with alien spaceships that just came down, and they showed up with their buddy Thor. So I think those provide us with some mitigating circumstances. Let's see. Where'd we go? Okay, here we go. Curtis Lopez writes, over under 25% Joker is rated R. I'm going to take the over on that. Not a lock. I'm not saying it's like a 60% chance or a 75% chance, but 25% is the line. I'm going to take the over on that. I think there's a good solid chance that this new Joker movie is rated R. The Maz writes, last year my brother and I got to see Gremlins in theater. It was epic. What 80s movie would you like to see in the theaters? Mine are War Games and The Last Dragon. War Games is a great one. Would you like to play a game? I love War Games. I haven't thought about that movie in a long time. That's a great one. Nice pick. Good 80s one. Megaforce. Yeah, Megaforce. Ooh, you know what I'd love to see on the big screen again? Noises Off. What year? I'm pretty sure it was the 80s. What year did that come out? Oh, it was 92. It's not an 80s movie. It's a 92 movie. All-time favorite movie, by the way. Or comedy. Tied for my all-time favorite comedy with Steve Carell's 40-Year-Old Virgin. 40-Year-Old Virgin and the 1992 movie Noises Off are my all-time favorite comedies. I know most of you guys have not seen Noises Off. Watch it. Carol Burnett, Michael Caine, Julie Haggerty, Christopher Reeve, John Ritter, Nicolette Sheridan, Kate Rich, Kate Sebastian. It's such a great cast. It's so good. I mean, first of all, you should just be sold on Michael Caine, Carol Burnett, Christopher Reeve, and John Ritter. Boom. Done. Watch this movie. It's so good. It is, to me, like I remember me and my buddies, me, Tran, Rodney, Jed, sometimes Nate, sometimes Jeff. We had this house, right? My buddy Rodney owned this house. You guys know Rodney. He's been, Rodney was with me on the movie blog. He's been on a couple episodes of my Star Wars talk show. Blah, you've seen him around. Anyway, Rodney owned this house. He was the only one of us who owned a house. Like, we were pretty young and he owned a house. And it had 5 bedrooms in it. And he just said, hey, why don't we all move in together? So a bunch of us just moved in. And we were just a bunch of friends living in a house together. Those were good days. Those were good days. And it's funny because one of the guys, Jeff, just texted me. He lives in Nashville now, and he's coming into town this week. So me and Jeff are getting together this week. I'm very excited about that. Anyway. And we would make lots of food and hang out. We would fight. We'd set up the basement of the house was literally turned into a fight training area. We would just have UFC fights down there. That's all we do. We'd fight all day, which is great. But we would also always walk over to the Blockbuster Video, buy a bunch of movies, and sit down and watch them. And we always got Noises Off. I lost track of how many times we watched Noises Off. Oh my God, watch it. So anyway, getting back to the Maz. I'm going to say Megaforce. I would love to see Megaforce on the big screen again. Life is like a wheel. It all comes around. Look it up. It's a poor man's G.I. Joe. I just love Megaforce. YTA2513 just sends in a super chat. Thank you, YTA. George Costanza writes, George is getting upset. Oh, man. George Costanza in Seinfeld. I was in the pool. This is one of his maybe greatest lines ever. YTA2513 writes, this morning I was in a bad mood caused by a personal issue. I couldn't even enjoy the first part of the show until you told your Anthony Hopkins story, and it gave me the biggest laugh. Thank you. Well, thanks so much, man. I'm glad I was able to do that for you. I love that story with Anthony Hopkins. I love that story. It's got to be one of my top 5 favorite memories in this business. Was that day with Anthony Hopkins. It was so great. I'm glad you enjoyed the story, man. And thanks for sharing your thoughts. I appreciate that, man. I'm glad I was able to put a smile on your face because it puts a smile on my face whenever I think about it. Curtis Lopez writes, would you rather live in the MCU or the DCEU? I don't know. I mean, they're both basically the world. I don't know, because it kind of seems like I would probably rather live in the DCEU because it seems like the world is at stake in the MCU way too often. Whether it's at stake in one of their big movies or whether it's at stake in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whether it's at stake, it just seems like the world is at stake way too much in the MCU. In the DCEU, Batman vs. Superman, Batman and Superman were fighting out. Now, granted, Doomsday shows up at the end, but that was kind of isolated. Justice League, you had Steppenwolf show up. Okay, but that was Justice League. Wonder Woman, the world wasn't at stake. It was at stake in Suicide Squad. It just feels like it's at stake more in Marvel, so I'd probably feel a little bit safer living in the DCEU. Jacob Cameron writes, hey, John, were you ever concerned over the lack of views when you started on YouTube? Oh, no. Are you kidding? When I started on YouTube, I would freak out if a video got 50 views. Are you kidding me? I would freak out if I got 50. That was amazing. 50 people watched my video. Are you kidding me? Look, and I try to tell people who are getting started in YouTube, don't think your video needs to have 5,000 views. You know, I remember this one time I was doing a panel a couple years ago about starting YouTube and stuff like that, right? And I remember I was in a room that it had about 250 people were in the room. It was at capacity, about 250 people were in the room. And I said, look, can you imagine, like, let's say you do a video and you get 250 views. I said, put this in context. That's like you got up on this stage right now and you packed this room out. I said, look around. There's a lot of people in here. You get 250 views. That's like a room just packed out to come hear you say something that you wanted to say. Don't lose sight of that. That number 250, that represents actually 250 individual people who decided, I want to hear what this person has to say. Click. And they sat down and took some time and watched your video. That's amazing. Are you kidding me? That's amazing. So, yeah, no, I was always just amazed that anybody would watch one of my videos. I still remember the very first time I had a video that got 500 views. I just about lost my mind. I thought I was the world's most famous man. Right? 500 views. I'm a celebrity now. When I had 500, I just thought it was the greatest thing, and I still think it's the greatest thing in the world. Because remember, that number's not just some innocuous number. It's each one of those numbers is an individual person who wanted to take a minute and spend a minute of their day watching what you had to say and watching your video, whatever creative endeavor you took to put up a video on YouTube. And that should be celebrated. That should be super celebrated. That's awesome. So, yeah, no, I never worried about it because I never cared. I never cared if I got whether my next video would get 500 views or not. I never cared if my next video would get 300 views or not. I was just always completely geeked out and completely baffled that people were watching my stuff. And I'm not going to lie to you. It still baffles me that people watch my stuff. Like, it happens every day. I'll be out, Whether, especially if I go to a movie theater. But if I'm in a movie theater, or we're at Disneyland, or we're at the grocery store, or I go into Best Buy. For those of you guys who are working at Best Buy, they've said hi to me a number of times. Like, I'm constantly, and people come up and say, "Hey, watch your stuff, man. Thanks for," and at first, I'm still stunned every single time. I'm still stunned. Hey, really? You watch my stuff and you're here? And you recognize me? What? I mean, it's still, so, don't worry about it. So look, Jacob, if you're looking at getting into developing your YouTube channel, don't worry about the view numbers. Worry about your voice. Worry about saying what you want to say. Do that. And if 10 people watch, amazing. If 50 people watch, amazing. If 100 people watch, amazing. The key thing is to make your videos your voice. Say what you want to say, the way you want to say it. Be authentic and true to yourself and just say what you want to say. And maybe you'll get 1,000 views, maybe you get 10 views, but whatever it is, that's individual people who are wanting to watch your stuff, and that should be celebrated. That should be celebrated. So yeah, man, I don't worry about that stuff, to be honest with you. Factual Opinion writes, I'm very excited for the new adaptation of Pet Sematary releasing in April 2019. When do you think the trailer will arrive? Honestly, probably not till at least December. Like, we're seeing a new trend that studios more and more, like, remember a couple of years ago, if there was a big movie coming out a year before it comes out, they drop the first trailer. A year. And I've been screaming for years now, you don't need to put out trailers that early. We seem to see movies now realizing that more and more. And that window of time between when they launch their first trailer and when the movie actually comes out is now getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's a good thing. So I'm not expecting a first Pet Sematary trailer probably till December sometime. I mean, it could release any minute now. They could release it tomorrow for sure. My guess is that probably sometime in December is when we'll get our first trailer. And I'm looking forward to it too. I want to see what they're going to do with that. Let's see. Sebastian writes, LMAO, The Oath Red Band trailer. I love Haddish. I have not seen it yet. Is there a new Tiffany Haddish thing out there? The Oath, Tiffany Haddish. Let me just see what. And a new trailer did come out today. I have not seen it. I love Tiffany Haddish. I never even heard of Tiffany Haddish before Girls Trip. Girls Trip is one of my most biggest pleasant surprise movies in years. I laugh myself stupid every time I watch that movie. And Tiffany Haddish is one of the big reasons why. I don't know how I feel about this Night School movie she's coming. The trailers haven't done it for me with her and Kevin Hart, but I'll give it a shot. We'll see what we think. But I did not know, and I really like Ike Barinholtz. I like him a lot. I think he's a really funny dude. So I will have to go and check out this trailer later. Thanks for putting that on my radar, Sebastian. All right. Stubbles McShave writes, could we ever see a Felix Leiter movie in a Bond movie universe? Felix is the FBI agent in older James Bond movies. It's possible. The very fact that you had to remind me about who he is kind of takes away from the likelihood of that, I think, Stubble. So, yeah, I'm gonna guess no. But it's certainly possible. But at this level, I'm going to guess no. Angry Irish Benjamin writes, I, for one, don't care about widespread CGI as long as it looks good and doesn't give me some other reason to dislike it. Yeah, I mean, look, CGI is simply meant to be there to give us something that without CGI couldn't be there, right? And, you know, some people say, oh, man, that didn't look real. It's an army of shark monsters fighting an army of crab monsters. What did you expect it to look like? But, look, the best CGI is the CGI you don't notice. That's always the top thing. Then there's spectacle CGI. That's always good too. But yeah, the best CGI is the stuff that you don't notice. But sometimes CGI happens in an environment where, of course, you're going to notice the CGI. And if you're doing underwater kingdoms, of course, you're going to notice the CGI, for sure. So, but yeah, I agree with you. As long as CGI doesn't take me out of a film, I'm totally good with it. Totally good. I agree with you there, Irish. Let's see. Javier Riaz 405 writes, I remember people were criticizing the Venom first trailer for not showing any Venom. Yeah, well, you know what? And I'll say this. I thought the first little trailer was a perfectly good little trailer. I did. But I did not disagree that we probably should have seen a little bit more Venom, but obviously their intention with that first little teaser they put out was to tease. It was a teaser trailer, and it was designed to tease. But you're right. Everybody was complaining. It's like, come on, guys. Don't expect every trailer to be the third Avengers Infinity War trailer. Don't expect every trailer to be that. First trailers need to be first trailers. Let's see how it goes. Now, it looks like the marketing strategy for Venom is going to pay off because they're saying it could open, I thought maybe $50 million. And if it opens to $50 million, they need to be happy with that. But now they're saying it could be anywhere from $60 to $70 million it opens with. Will it actually open that big? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But clearly the marketing's been working. But yeah, we got to start realizing first trailers, not all films do this, but for the most part, first trailers serve a different purpose than the main trailer that usually comes later. And the Venom one is a great example of that. Sebastian writes, how is The Oath different from Blockers? I don't know. I haven't seen the trailer yet, so I have no idea. The Mad Titan writes, Daredevil Season 3 on October 19th. Yeah, it's funny. That actually came out as we were doing the show this morning. As we were doing the John Campea show, one of our viewers jumped on the Super Chat and said, they just announced it. Daredevil coming out on October 19th. I thought it was going to be early December, maybe late November. I am thrilled that it's coming out. It's coming out in less than a month, guys. Daredevil Season 3 is coming out in less than a month. So here's something, because I'm going to tell you what, the Marvel Netflix shows have not been on a good streak. I did not like Jessica Jones Season 2. I did not like Luke Cage Season 2. Iron Fist Season 2 was better than Iron Fist Season 1, but still not great. I need something good out of this Marvel Netflix universe, and Daredevil Season 3 probably represents the best chance of that happening, so fingers crossed on that. All right. Maximum Effort 44T writes, hey John, what about a Falcon and Winter Soldier for the MCU streaming series? Those two are gold together. Well, we actually talked about that. Me and Robert Meyer Burnett last night on the Weekly Hero, we specifically talked about both of those. We talked about the chances for a Winter Soldier one, and we talked about a Falcon one. As far as having the two of them together in one, I just don't see the two of them together apart from Cap. I think part of what makes those two so cool together is when they are with Captain America, because that is their connection, is their individual connections to Captain America. And it's on that level that it really works for me. So it's an intriguing idea, though, Maxima. It really is. It is an intriguing idea. I got to admit, if they announced that one, I would be, Now, Robert brought up a good point. Robert seems to think they won't use Winter Soldier or Bucky in the limited series because they think Marvel has bigger plans for him down the road. I don't think they have bigger plans for him, but we'll have to wait and see. But it wouldn't be my first choice because, again, I don't see the two of them as a team separated from Captain America. But I will admit, if they announce that, I would find that intriguing. So that's an interesting suggestion, Maximum. Ben Rayner writes, when a limited film comes, how long usually till it gets a wide release? Sisters Brothers doesn't have a wide release date on Box Office Mojo, just a limited date. There is no usual. There's no usual. Quite often you'll see it'll open limited and like 2 weeks later have a bigger rollout. Sometimes a lot of movies only have limited releases. I mean, that's the truth. There are a lot of films that come out that just have limited releases and don't get a wide release. I don't know this because I haven't looked into it, but Sisters Brothers, the Sister Brothers, that might be one of those films. It might be a film that only has a limited release. Let me do a quick search here. Sister Brothers wide release. I'm seeing October 5th. But I don't know if that's actually accurate or not. So, yeah, I mean, that's it. There's a lot of films that get limited releases that never get wide releases. So I don't know. Sister Brothers might just be one of those films that the studio thinks is a great movie, but they don't think anybody would actually go see it. So maybe they just put out a limited release. Sometimes they put it out in limited release to see if anybody wants to go see it. And then if they do and it does well, then they open it up and they go wider. So I don't know what their strategy is with Sister Brothers, though. It seems to be a waste not to go wide release when you got to cast that solid, though, right? Trevor Riches writes, "Hey, John, my brother Shane, who is a producer in Hollywood, just got one of his series put into development by Fox today. It's called 100 Days Without Fear, and if it's made, it will also be executive produced by Akiva Goldman." Oh, that's awesome. Well done. Actually, let me see if there's anything online about it. 100 Days Without Fear. Google seems to be recognizing the title. Yeah, it's been being right about in Deadline and all this kind of stuff. That's great. Congratulations to your brother, man. That is awesome. That is some exciting stuff. Believe me, there are many, 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 many people who go who will go their entire careers without getting something to series or getting something produced. That is awesome, dude. So please pass on my congratulations to your brother. That is some exciting stuff. Cody Carroll writes, "Have you read Slugfest, Inside the Epic 50-Year Battle Between Marvel and DC? Pretty good book. Keep up the great work, John. Best in the world." I have not seen this. Hold a second. Let me put this on my Amazon wish list here. What was it called? Slugfest? Slugfest, Inside the Epic 50-Year Battle Between Marvel and DC. Oh, it's a cool cover, too. It's got that old style, 1930s cover. Hold a second. Ooh, and it's on Audible. Oh, because I love Audible. Because I got to drive every day, so I listen. I'm getting this. I'm getting this today. Thank you, Cody, for putting that on my radar. I am buying this sucker right now. All right, and done. Thank you, man. I got to check this out. Thanks for putting that on my radar. All right, Pensive Ruin writes, "Would fans be open to John Irons Superman?" Oh, is that Steel? Is that who you mean? Yeah, that's the character's name, John Henry Irons, who becomes Steel. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. They tried something like that before with Shaquille O'Neal as Steel. Remember that? Not exactly the same thing, but no. It's kind of like this thing. People don't care about People don't care about Batman Beyond. They don't care about some stupid idiot calling himself Batman. To the movie-going audience, Bruce Wayne is Batman. You can't separate the two. To the movie-going audience, Clark Kent is Superman. I don't think they accept the Kryptonian. I don't think they'd accept the Cyborg. I don't think they'd accept John Henry Irons. No, I think to them, Superman is Clark Kent. Clark Kent is Superman. So, no, I don't think they would, to be honest with you. Not to mention, there's still the stink in the air of that, of the Shaquille O'Neal Steel movie. All right, Santez Henderson writes, "I've been hearing people say Star Wars needs to adopt the MCU model with doing movies. Star Wars is not the MCU. MCU can do 3 movies a year because each movie that's released has a different style and characters. While having an overarching goal overall, Star Wars needs to get away from this timeline they've stuck to forever and loosen things up and have a different tone." Look, I've been saying for a very long time, Santez. I've been saying this for a very long time. It's time for Star Wars to grow the universe. Expand the universe. Now, that doesn't mean you need to do it the way MCU does it. Not at all. But they need to start expanding the universe. What I, as a Star Wars fan, have been consistently frustrated over the last number of years is the constant amount of navel gazing. Just looking at your own belly button. That's what it seems to do. We're going to do a Star Wars movie, and we're going to make it about, I don't know, Han Solo. But we've already seen tons of Han Solo. Yeah, we're going to make another one about Han Solo. Well, I guess we love Harrison Ford as Han Solo, and it's not going to have Harrison Ford. Who's asking for that? Nobody. Isn't that great? And they're talking about, let's do a Boba Fett movie, but we've already had Boba Fett. Let's do a Young Yoda movie, but let's do this movie, but we've already covered that. It's time for Star Wars to start to look to expand what they do. And that's one of the reasons why I'm very excited about this Jon Favreau project. That, according to reports, whether or not these reports are true or not, we'll have to wait and see, are going to focus on Mandalore. That's great. That's going to expand our understanding of the universe. Because really, for most film fans, nobody understands anything about Mandalore. So that's a great example of expanding our understanding of the universe. Perfect. Great. I'm hoping whatever it is that the Game of Thrones guys are working on is something that expands the universe. I'm hoping that whatever it is Rian Johnson's working on is something that expands the universe. It's just, they got to start getting away from just staring at their own belly button and grow it. And you're absolutely right. That doesn't mean you got to do it like the MCU. Not at all. They're two different things. They're two different types of stories. But they at least got to start expanding this universe, man. And I've been so frustrated at that as a fan for so long. And I've liked what they're doing. But just because I'm okay with what you're doing doesn't mean I don't want you to do better or do more. You know? So, anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. Let's see here. Last couple of questions. This has gone way over time today, guys. Stubble McShave writes, Neil was the first to walk on the moon. However, Buzz claimed that he was the first to pee on the moon. Is there controversy there? Well, well, clearly he didn't pull it out and pee on something, but that's pretty funny. I like that. Angry Irish Benjamin writes, for you, the day bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday. I'm guessing that is a Street Fighter quote. I'm guessing that's a Street Fighter quote. Hold on a second. Let me just double check. I'm going to check it out. I'm just taking a wild guess that it means it's a Street Fighter thing. Yep, it was a Street Fighter quote. There it goes. I didn't recognize the line. It's just that, well, bison. What else could mean bison? What else would have bison in? All right. Final question of the day comes to us from My Vlog Academia, who writes, hey, John, I know it's been a few days, but I saw your tweet about MGK and couldn't agree more. Did you hear Eminem's song Kill Shot? He destroyed him. Yep. It's funny because I never really heard of Machine Gun Kelly before this whole dust up with Eminem. And it's like, you got to understand, like, I grew up listening to much better rappers than there are today. Like, when I was, like, back 15 years ago, I was listening to much better rappers than there are today. But whatever. But I thought if some guy is getting Eminem's attention, maybe he's good. And I went back and I started listening to I've listened to like 7 or 8 tracks from Machine Gun Kelly. He sucks. He really sucks. And his style is completely bland and cookie cutter. Blah, 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 word. Blah, 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 rhyme. Blah, 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 word. Blah, 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 rhyme. He's awful. He's terrible. And I put in my tweet, look, music is all subjective too, so there was a little bit of joking in my tweet, obviously, because all music is art, like everything else art, it's all subjective. That is it. But I remember I put in my tweet, because I just listened to this guy, it's like, some of you guys like this horse shit? Like, it's terrible. But anyway, if you guys like him, that's great. But it's like, oh my God, I just listened to something like that, and then you listen to somebody like Eminem, and it's like, okay, kid, you shouldn't even speak this other guy's name. It's not that you're not in the same league. You're not on the same planet as this other guy. Like, you really suck. And this guy's really awesome. So you should just shh. Quiet little child who thinks you look so edgy because you got tattoos. And look at me, I got tattoos. That means I'm cool. No, you still suck. But whatever. He's a better rapper than me. But I'm not the standard of excellence, am I? But yeah, it was the weirdest thing, that whole thing. But it's funny because in that kill shot thing, I think Eminem expresses some stuff like, do I even address this guy? Because I'm far more popular than this guy, and he's just trying to use me to get some attention for himself. But then he went ahead and made Kill Shot anyway, when Kill Shot was awesome. I mean, in my career, I've had the same thing. I have constantly had people try to take shots at me, desperately trying to get me to react to them. And I don't care. Like, and there are people who are trying to use me and attack me as a way of getting the spotlight on them. And I just don't pay any attention to it. Mostly because, and I believe this, and I've said that, you guys who've watched me for any period of time, you've heard me say this before, but it's true. When you get into a shit slinging contest online, the only result is everybody ends up smelling like shit. When you get into a shit slinging contest, the only thing that happens is that everybody ends up smelling like shit. I mean, that's the only thing that happens. So it's always kind of been my philosophy. It's like, hey, you want to use your time? If I'm so important in your life, like I am so monumentally important in your life that you need to make videos talking about how much you don't like my opinion of a movie or something like that, then I feel, number one, I feel sorry for you. But number two, if that's what makes you happy and gets your rocks off, God bless. Go do your thing. But I'm not going to engage with you. I've made that mistake before. I have. I've made the mistake of responding to people like that. So that's one of the reasons why I was particularly interested in the whole kill shot thing. Because I have made that mistake before where somebody wants to take a shot at me, okay, and I've responded. But responding never really does anything, and I've made that mistake. And so I just would rather not. Like, you want to say something stupid, regardless of how wrong you are, regardless of how much out of context you've taken everything, no matter how much you misrepresent things I said, no matter how much you twist everything to try to make it look a certain way, I'm not going to get involved. That's your thing. My life is about more important things. Your life apparently is not. So if you want to do that, go for it. It's just like, yeah, because again, even if I say everything right, and I think this is a lesson for everybody involved in YouTube. Even if you respond and you say everything correct and you say everything right and you say completely factual things, you're still just getting involved in the shit slinging contest. And even if you're right, the only thing that ends up happening is everybody smells like shit. And, you know, I kind of get dismayed. You know, when I was at the Comic-Con this year and I did my Masters of the Web panel and we were talking about developing your own YouTube channel, the one thing I implored everybody to do is this. Don't be the lowest common denominator. Whatever you want to make your YouTube channel about. Make it about this, make it about that, make it about the other thing. Just do me a favor. Don't be a YouTube channel that does nothing but talk about other YouTube channels. Just don't do that. Bring something to the table. Bring something to the community, whichever community it is that you're getting involved with. Whether it's music, art, mommy blogging, movies, cars, lifestyle, like whatever it is, whatever your community is that you're getting plugged into. Just do me a favor. Don't become one of the lowest common denominator where your whole YouTube channel is just about you talking about other people who do YouTube channels. Just don't be that. Be better than that. And look, that makes me a little bit hypocritical because I've made that mistake myself. But anyway, that's all why I found that whole Kill Shot and Machine Gun Kelly situation so interesting, was because hearing Eminem talking about the struggle about whether or not to respond to somebody like that, who is so clearly his lesser, but his struggle with whether or not to respond to something like that, it's something I've struggled with too, about should I respond, should I not respond? Are people just going to assume I'm saying that certain things are correct if I don't respond, but if I do respond, then I'm just giving them the attention they're looking for, and I just don't know what to do about it. So for the most part, I just try not to get involved at all and just say, hey, look, if you want to do it, if I'm so important to you that you want to do that, feel free. I'm going to talk about movies. That's what I'm going to do. If you want to talk about people you don't like, fine, you do that. But it's a constant struggle. I mean, and I'm like everybody else. I have my ideals, and then I have what I actually live up to. My ideals, what I actually live up to. And there's this constant struggle with the gap between the two. And I think we all suffer about that. I think none of us are the people we want to be. And now I'm waxing poetic, but I mean, I'm not the person I want to be. I'm trying to become the person I want to be. And so I've got my ideals of what I really want to be. But the reality is I'm around here. And I'm trying every day to get a little bit closer. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I fail. But anyway, now I'm just going off on a rambling thing. Listen, guys, today's show has been long enough. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of Open Mic today. Thank you to all you guys for sending in these topics because, number one, you give us great discussion topics, and number two, because you support the channel, and I thank you for that very deeply. So thanks for making my channel even possible. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until tomorrow's John Campea Show, bye-bye.